So good morning to all of you. I welcome you to this RDBMS class. In today's class, we are going to discuss about PLSQL. We'll be discussing the cursors in PLSQL, exception handling in PLSQL, and we'll also be discussing procedures and functions. So once again, if you can just if I'm audible, if I'm clear, you can just give me a raised hand so that we can begin today's session, so that I can understand that you are able to hear me loud and clear. All right, thank you. You can lower your hands now. So let's begin a SQL session. I have logged into my account, okay, and I'm having the SQL prompt here. So as usual, we'll be working with our tables, the inbuilt tables of Scott, that is M and department. These are the two tables, and you know the association between these two tables is that M table department number is a foreign key to department table department number, which is a primary key. These two tables are associated on the basis of department number. Let me just do a few settings so that we can see the screen clearly and in full size. Okay, so I'll list all the rows from the M table so that they are refreshed. Similarly from the department table. So as I discussed in my previous lecture with you guys, that a PLSQL block is, we can have two types of PLSQL blocks, an anonymous block and a named block. So we were discussing the anonymous block. Say for example, if I just want to write a code here of an anonymous block, let's see what we can do with an anonymous block. So I think the font, I can just make it a bit bigger. Or still bigger can be made. Okay, fine. I think now it's visible. So let's write a small PLSQL anonymous block code. Okay. So declare. So you can declare variables here. You can also initialize them here. Okay. You can initialize them in the begin block also. Initialization is done with a colon equal to operator, which is the assignment operator in PLSQL. And then in begin, you can write a print statement. You can put an optional message here. You can concatenate with a pipe, double pipe symbol. And then you can write a end statement here. Okay, and we need to write here dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. And see, I have saved this anonymous block in a file p1.sql. Okay, and if I save it, then obviously first I can list the contents of p1, then I can run it. Okay, so there's some problem at line 5. Okay, let's see what is that problem. So I think the concatenation should be in parentheses, I suppose. Here, let's check whether that is the error. Yeah, now we can't see the output, so we must write something like set server output on. Initial 5-10 minutes is a review of the previous lecture, so kindly just wait for the today's session to actually begin. So set server output on would redirect all your outputs from dbms underscore output dot put underscore line to screen. So now you can see the output is sum is 30. So if we see this anonymous block, we have a declare section, we have a begin section. We can have an exception section here also. Okay, just a quick review of the exception section. We'll discuss exceptions in detail today. So exception section is like if some error occurs here. So maybe I could write something like an a/b here, and where I could make b as 0. So obviously some error would occur. Okay. So if I write here, I can write here divide by 0. I know that this error is going to occur because I'm dividing by a by 0. So once I run this code, the control would jump from the begin section to the exception section. I have not picked up an exact exception. I don't know. Let's suppose I don't know what is the error. So I've just wrote others. So when I write when others, then it will pick up any error that has occurred in your PLSQL block. Okay. So let's see this working. Another way of running would be like this. So you can see the output is divide by 0, because what happens here is once you reach this statement here, this a/b should raise an exception and it would jump into the exception section here. So this short program I've just taken to highlight the anonymous block, where we have a declare section, a begin section, an exception section, and an end section, right? Now let's write another PLSQL code here. Say so you can give a double hyphen comment in PLSQL, say to print salary of a specific employee. Suppose I want to print the salary of a specific employee from the emp table. Okay. So what I need to do here is I must first write a statement like this, which you people have already studied. You can write something like this, a query like this. So when you write a select statement in your PLSQL block, it should be a select into statement. So you must write select column name into some variable name. Okay, this is the change in the select statement when you write it in the PLSQL block. So select sal into x, right? So you need to declare x here also. Again, this is a quick review of the previous work. Today's session we'll start with cursors, but just to bring you up to the that point, I'm just writing some quick codes. If you have any discussions regarding these also, you can raise your hand. I'll be watching you closely. You can ask, you can raise your hands to ask your problems. Okay. So if I need to declare x as of the same type of sal, what should I write? I want to declare a variable x and I want that its data type should be same as that of the salary column of emp table. What should I write here? Okay, Shelly wants to answer. Yes, Shelly, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we would write emp, then sal,
Emp dot
sal percentage type.
Very good. So emp dot sal percentage type. Good, Shelly. Good. So this would mean that the data type of x is exactly the same as the data type of the sal column of emp table. Okay, and then I can just maybe I can print this salary. Today's lecture would be a good opportunity for all of you to if you've missed any lectures during the offline classes, this is a review of everything that we do in PLSQL, starting from the anonymous block. So I'll write here, say salary is, okay, and then I can do some pipe and I can write here x, okay, and then I can write an end here. This is the first part, say to print salary of a specific employee from the emp table. Remember your select into statement. The select into statement should return only a single row. while you're writing a select into statement in your PLSQL block, it should compulsorily return only a single row. If it returns 0 rows, or if it returns multiple rows, it will raise an error. An exception would be raised. So with the running of this code, I'll show you both the 0 and the multiple row returns. I'll try to show it here to you. So let's run this code. It's in file P2. So let's get the code on screen first. Okay, and let's run it. Okay, so you see this enter value for ENO, this prompt is coming from here because we have used an ampersand here. So it prompts you for the value of employee number. So let me just put the value as 7788. So you can see it's showing salary is 3000. So the employee number 7788 is having salary as 3000. During this, while you're running PLSQL code, it verifies, whenever you use ampersand or you're using some query. So it verifies that this is what you wrote and this is what is converted. You can see the conversion here. The value of ENO you provided as 7788. So it is 77. It is matching query like this. If you don't want to see it, you can write set verify off. Now, if you run it, it won't give you the prompts. Okay. Enter value and salary is 3000. So let me now again run it, this time with an employee which does not exist, maybe say 9876. So you see this is the error is raised now. Okay, let me just get the code for you once again so that we can correlate. When I run this query, then there is no employee number with as 9876. So this select statement returns 0 rows. So that is why the exception is raised as no data found. Okay, no data found, and the error number is ORA-01403. This is the error number and this is the error message. So you see, we didn't handle this exception, so this is raised here. Okay. Yeah, I'm back. So so what we can do here is, I just show you this code here. We can handle this exception on our own. We can write here exception. Okay, and then in exceptions we should know what type of error is going to occur, and then we can tackle that error. If we are not aware what type of error is going to occur, we would use when others. So I can use here when no data found. That means I'm going to catch this error, that if my select statement does not return any row, then this would handle it. Okay, so let's handle it here. So I can write here select statement returned 0 rows. So this is my own message, more convenient and meaningful to read. Now, when I give an employee number here, which is not there, then it would jump into this exception section. It will have a match with this no underscore data underscore found, and it will print this message that select statement returned 0 rows. Let's see whether it works like this. So you can just get the code and you can run it. Now let's again give some invalid employee. So you can see that it has caught the error and it has given you a user defined message. See the difference between these two messages. Okay. This message says no data found and error number is there. So difficult to understand maybe for some users. But this is clear that the error is that your select statement has returned 0 rows. It should not be returning 0 or multiple rows. That's why the error. Okay. Similarly, we can write another thing here. Say if I try to write a DNO here. Okay. So where I would say I would change the query to where department number is equal to, say I'm asking selecting salary for, so obviously this is going to return multiple rows. Okay. So can you predict whether this when no data found would be raised or not in this case? Can somebody tell me that how to pick up this error, or whether whatever I've written in exception will pick up the error? Yeah, you can raise your hands to answer this question. Yes, Simran can answer.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we can write another exception, that is too many rows found. Means too many rows.
No, what should I write? I should write when others, or do we have some specific?
Yeah. So we have specific exception like when two underscore many underscore rows,
Okay,
then
very good, very good.
the print statement.
Great, great, great. That's a correct answer. So for multiple rows returned by select, we have this predefined exception with us, when too many rows. So I will say select statement returned. We could put a message like multiple rows. Okay, let's run it. So if I give say department 10, obviously it will say select statement returned multiple rows. Now it is looking what type of error is occurring here, looking for a match in the exceptions action. So first it tries to match with no underscore data underscore found, does not match. Then it matches with two underscore many underscore rows, and it gives you the appropriate message, select statement returned multiple rows. Okay, so this is your PL/SQL block. When you write it, a single select into statement, it should always return a single row. If it returns multiple rows or it returns 0 rows, then it gives you an error. If you handle that error, fine. If you don't handle the error, obviously a system defined message is displayed like here. This is when you don't handle the exception. This is the message that you get, error at this is the exception detail, and this is the exception number. And when you handle it on your own like this, like here you've written when no data found, or here you've written when too many rows, it would look for a match that what sort of an error has occurred, and it would display the appropriate message. So with exceptions, we can have meaningful information being conveyed to the user. Okay. Now the problem here is that we are unable to process multiple rows with our select into statement. So to take care of that, we need to use some different construct. That construct would be a cursor. Okay. Okay, so let's study what is a cursor. So can I have a definition from any one of you? Like we have already discussed cursors in class. We were supposed to begin procedures and functions today, but since we are on a review and you have your sessionals also, so can somebody define a cursor? Okay, Simran, you've already answered. You can lower your hand. Okay, Subhya wants to answer. Yes, Subhya.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, cursor is a SQL area which allows us to manage the rows which is returned by the select statement.
Yeah, so when our select statement returns multiple rows, then we can process it using a cursor, which is a special PL/SQL memory area where all the rows returned by a select statement are stored and can be processed. Okay, fine. So what are the 4 operations, Subhya, that we can do with our cursors, or more precisely, what are the different types of cursors?
Sir, one is implicit and explicit.
Okay, implicit and explicit. What is implicit and what is explicit?
Sir, whenever we run a DML statement, then implicit cursors are used, and
Okay.
they are created automatically, while explicit cursors are not.
You're not audible, Subhya.
Sir, when
Yeah, you're still not audible.
sir, am I audible?
Somebody else can answer this. What is an implicit and what is an explicit? Okay, so many people are raising hands. That's good. Let's ask Sejal.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sejal.
Sir, implicit cursors are used when DML statement is occurred, it is created automatically, whereas explicit cursor is used, is need to be created by the user.
Okay, so explicit cursor needs to be created and handled by the user, and implicit cursor is created automatically whenever a DML statement is used in your code. That's a good answer. Okay, you can lower your hands once the question has been answered. Thank you. So I'll start with the explicit cursors because some work needs to be done in there in explicit cursors. So as you all know, 4 operations are there which are associated with an explicit cursor. So they are declaring, I'll write here itself, declaring a cursor, then opening a cursor, then fetching values, and then closing. These are the 4 operations associated with an explicit cursor. Okay, so we'll discuss them in a code one by one and with a few examples. So let's write a new code. So we are using an explicit cursor. Okay. So it must be declared in the declare section, and its syntax is like this: cursor, then you must follow some cursor name, say cursor z1 is, and then it should be followed by a select statement. Say select emp number comma ename from M, where department number is equal to, say, and DNO. I'm writing specific queries now. Okay, kindly note this, all of you. I'm writing specific queries for you. So this is a very important one. Like when I run this query, this select statement would fetch rows from a specific department, which would be entered by the user itself once this executes. And those rows would be associated with this cursor Z1 in memory. Okay, that is the idea behind a cursor. Okay, and then in the begin section, you can open the cursor. A cursor can be opened by writing open and then its name. You see now, if I give, say, department number 10, then multiple people would be there in department 10. So cursor would be handling multiple rows. So to process those multiple rows, we need to fetch them one by one. So obviously, if I write something like fetch Z1 into, say, some variables, I write here X and Y, where X represents the emp number and Y represents the ename. Okay. So obviously I need to declare these variables here. Okay. With the same, declaration style that we used in our previous example. So X is for emp number. So we should write something like this. Similarly, Y is for ename. Okay. So you can write here Y. You can write here ename. So I hope the meaning is clear that X is a variable whose data type is similar to the emp number column of emp table, and Y is a variable whose data type is similar to the ename column of emp table. So when I write fetch Z1 into X comma Y, okay, and if I try to print something, now you must tell me whether this will work or not. If I say print here X and Y, if I print these two values here and I write an end here, before that, if I close the cursor here, now is everything right with this code? Let's see. We have declared a cursor. Okay, this is the cursor declaration. We have opened the cursor. We have used the fetch statement. How fetch is used? Fetch followed by the cursor name, then a keyword into, and then the list of variables. Now this fetch should be matching with this select. If you have selected two columns here, so it should having 2 columns here, because it is going to fetch the values of emp number and ename into the variables X and Y respectively. My question is, what would be the output of this program? Whether this will work or this will give some error. You can raise your hands to answer this. This is in file P3. We'll have a look at it. Okay. So let's first write the select star from emp statement here and look for department number 10. I'll be running this code with department number 10. So we have Clark, then we have King, and then we have Miller. So what is the output of this code? That is what I'm asking from you. I'm listing the code on screen. When I run this code, what is the output of this? Will it give an output or will it give an error? Please raise your hands to answer this question. Only then you will understand cursor, because we have already discussed it in our offline classes. Yes, you can raise your hands whether this will work or whether this will give some error or some other mechanism should be used to, run this code. Okay. Sejal and Shelly have raised hands. Shelly can answer.
So we can use loops to fetch the data.
This particular code won't run without loops. Let's ask Sejal also. Yes, Sejal.
Sir, we need loop to fetch the cursor. Otherwise, it will create an error.
Will create an error. Any other answer? Two people have answered that we need loops. Okay, let me run it for you and just so that you can see whether it runs or not. So I'm giving department number 10. Okay. Oh, we wrote something wrong in the code itself. Just let me just correct it. Yeah, here is a problem. Okay. See, it has, you see, now it has given the first row as the answer. Okay. So 3 rows would have returned. So just understand this thing very clearly. When you're writing fetch, it will work simply. It will just fetch the first row where the cursor is. The cursor pointer Z1 is pointing to the first row. You just fetch that, so it would be picked up and displayed. Okay. Now the loop should be required when you need to process all the rows from the cursor, and that should be the idea also. We would not be interested in only processing a few rows. So we would be interested in this loop and then an end loop here. Once again, the same question, will this code run now? Answer carefully now. I'm using a loop as suggested by Sejal and Shelly. So will this run now? You can again raise your hands to answer this question, whether this will run or whether this will create some problem. Okay, Simran wants to answer.
Sir, we have not incremented the value of x and y.
We should,
So-
we won't be incrementing. We don't increment the value of x and y. State your answer in a different way. You are on right track, but your statement is incorrect. Okay, some other person can answer. Okay, Shelly wants to answer. What about boys? There are no boys in the class. Only girls are answering. Yes, Shelly, go ahead.
So we need to specify various attributes.
To do what?
Sir, in order to get the correct output, like if Z1
Correct
is
output
fetching
will
some
come.
data.
Correct output is going to come, Shelly. I think you should state this thing that this loop is an infinite loop. This never going to end. Okay. Let's see. देखते हैं क्या कहता है ये. See now, it is in an infinite loop. Can you see all of you? Because we are into loop and loop is never going to end. There is no end condition. So a program is in an infinite loop. Okay. So I need to break it. Let's see if I can break it. Yeah. So again, I need to start my command line. Okay. And let me connect again. Okay. And same things again on the settings and all. So be careful with the loops. Otherwise, it is going to waste your time. And let's see whether we are back on track. Yeah, we are. Okay. So let's see this now. In this, we started a loop. We said that we want to fetch the values in a loop because there are multiple values, but we have not ended the loop. Okay. So what we can do here is we can use an exit condition. Okay. Exit. Now, normally we exit a loop when we have, say, we have processed a loop 10 times, 20 times, but we are not aware like how many rows are there in the select statement with which the cursor Z1 is associated. Now, this explicit cursor has certain attributes. Okay. And those attributes are, there are 4 explicit cursor attributes. Okay. Sejal wants to ask something. Yes, Sejal.
Sir, no, I just wanted to answer the attributes.
Okay, okay, fine. Go ahead, answer. That's good.
So percentage found percentage not found, percentage is open, and percentage row count.
Perfect. Very good. So these are the 4 explicit cursor attributes which help us with our explicit cursor. So you see, I'm going to write something here which would make things clear. There is an exit when statement. So exit when Z1 percentage not found. That's it. So I'm saying fetch the rows, display the data, and exit when Z1 percentage not found means that the cursor Z1 is not finding any more rows. Okay. So let's run this now. One by one, I'll take all the 4 attributes. We'll see how to write them, right? So we can write here, and then we can get P3 and we can run it, say 10. So again, I think we just started a new session and we forgot this. So you can see there are, you see how many rows are coming? The Miller last row is being repeated. Okay. Can you see the last row is being repeated in your output? Kindly see it carefully. Okay. So let's rectify that. Okay. Before you actually print, you see if the last fetch has not picked up any rows, then it should exit. So this would be the correct way of doing it. First you fetch, then you see whether fetch resulted in something. If not, then you exit. Otherwise you print something. A better way of writing. Okay. This won't get the repetitions. So if you just run it, now you have the 3 values, and then obviously you can make the display look better like this. You can add some spaces here. Just keep on adding with the pipes. Okay. You get P3, you run it, say 10. So more meaningful output is here. Okay. So this explicit cursor attribute, I think percentage not found is clear. Okay. Then the same can be done with percentage found. Okay. So you can use an if statement here. Okay. A different way of writing this if. So I can just move it here. Something like this. If Z1 percentage found, that is, if the cursor finds rows, then you fetch them. Okay. Just indent it like this. Else you can write here fetch and display. Okay. And else you can exit. You can just nest it this also. And then you need to write end if within. So I'll just maximize the screen so that you can see the code in one go. Now you're opening the cursor and you're checking whether Z1 finds some rows or not. So if Z1 percentage found, only then you fetch. Okay. Okay. I think, sorry, we need to write this here, I suppose. First you fetch, only then you can see whether something has been found up here. So if it is found, only then it will display, otherwise it will exit. Another way of exiting your loop with a cursor. Okay. So let's get this. And if you go like this, it will again show the same thing. You can see that. So you can use Z1 percentage found and Z1 percentage not found. So you might be interested in how many rows have been processed by the cursor. Okay. So that you can write here before you actually close the cursor. So you can print something here. Okay. Rows processed. You can write something like this here. You can write here Z1 percentage row count. Okay. And then you can close the cursor. Let's see what it does. So you can see it has processed 3 rows. The cursor has processed 3 rows. You can see the code on top. This you are fetching, and if something is found, like cursor fetches something, then you display it, otherwise you exit. Once you've exited, you check how many rows have been processed with this attribute, percentage row count. Okay. Now it could be also, I may ask you to process whatever rows are, returned, process only the 2 rows, the first 2 rows. Okay. Then can you suggest what to write in the code? Yes, I'm waiting for your answers. What to write if I need to process only the 2 rows, whatever number of rows are there associated with the cursor. I just want to handle 2 rows. No answers? I don't want to process all the rows. If I keep on fetching and if it keeps on finding, it will keep on processing. Okay, so I can add in something like this, and Z1 percentage row count is less than or equal to 2. That's it. So now instead of 3 rows, it will just pick up at the moment it processes 2 rows and it fetches a 3rd row. This row count will increase to 3. So it will just process the first 2 rows. Let's run it. Okay, but because the 3rd row has been fetched, you've not done something here. You see, once you fetch 2 rows and it displays these 2 things, again it fetches the 3rd row here. But this if condition exits you from here. It does not let you display the output X and Y. But since the 3rd row was also fetched, that is why this row count gives you the answer as 3. Okay. And then the attribute is open. You can also check here. Is open, whether the cursor is open or not, you can check. So if the cursor is open, it will display. Let's see. It is. Let's see whether it should be something a true false sort of thing. So it just let's write like this here. It might not work, but let's see. It needs to be worked with an if statement, I suppose, but let's see if it works like this. So I'm just displaying whether the cursor is open or not. Okay, now it should be used with the if statement, true, right? So we need to use it like this. If Z1 percentage is open, then cursor is open. We can write like this. Else we can say cursor is not open. Cursor is not open. Okay, so here we have not closed the cursor at this point. Okay, so this will return true. So it will print cursor is open. Okay, once we close it, then we can check again. We can write this code here again. Control C. I can write it here. Must write an endif also. Here also I must write an endif. Let's suppose it runs fine. See now what I have done. Have a good look at it. I have to just show you the percentage is open attribute. I've checked here. If Z1 percentage is open, that means if the cursor is open, this attribute will return a true value. So it will print cursor is open. Then after that, I close the cursor and I again use this if. So if this is open, we return a false this time, and it will say cursor is not open. Okay, let's run this code. So you can see first it says cursor is open. Once you use it after close Z1, then it tells you cursor is not open. So these are the 4 cursor attributes which I've explained to you with the help of this program. Very interesting one which you've learned about the attributes. Okay. So let's now write an explicit cursor. This is a small problem for all of you. We'll be interacting on it to display employee details for a specific job. I want to display some employee details. Okay, so I'm not mentioning how many. So we'll be using a percentage row type attribute now. Like in this example that's listed on the screen, we picked up select these 2 columns. Okay, that's why we declared 2 variables here with the percentage type attribute. Now I'm saying I don't know what the employee details are. So I'll be using a select star sort of thing. So for that, I should be using a percentage row type declaration. I hope I'm clear. Okay. So the problem is we need to display employee details for a specific job. Okay. So I'm giving you a 2 minutes time. Okay. Kindly just think on it, and then we'll discuss. Okay. I asked you a problem to display the employee details for a specific job. Yeah, raise your hands to answer this. First, you lower your hands and then you raise your hands to give me the answer to this problem, that how to proceed with this. Okay, who wants to answer? Let me pick up. Yes, Shivam Gupta can answer. Shivam, unmute yourself and answer.
Yes, sir.
Answer this question. How to go about it to display employee details for a specific job?
Select
कैसे
a,
करेंगे इसको? No, we need to write a PLSQL code, right?
okay.
बताइए क्या लिखें?
If
Okay. Prince can answer. Prince, you have raised your hand. Prince, you can unmute yourself.
Sir, sir, in the declare section,
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
sir, we just go with select star,
No,
select
we go
star.
with select star, but we since we are going to process multiple rows, so we must use a
Okay.
cursor, right? So tell me a cursor
Yes, yes.
declaration. Yeah, take your time. No hurry.
Sir, cursor C1 or anything
Is
is select star from emp where job is equal to %, job.
this is good. Good answer. Okay, let's see who else have raised their hands. Shelly, you can go ahead from here. Thank you, Prince. You can mute yourself. Yes, Shelly. What next?
So we have to declare a variable.
Okay,
Uh,
I'll declare it as say A. Okay, type.
So M percentage row type.
Yeah, that is, I want to declare a row type cursor, which name is A. And this declaration means that this variable A can access all the columns of the M table. Just simply like a structure sort of thing, structure variable and structure members. So this variable A is a percentage row type variable. So it can access all the columns of the M table. Okay. What else? Go ahead,
So we
Shelly.
have to open the cursor now.
Actually, we have opened. Now, Sejal would go forward from here. See this?
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, we'll start the loop.
Yeah. So this sequence is same. Declare a cursor, open a cursor, start a loop, and then whatever, fetch the values. Fetch, boliye, Sejal.
C1
Hmm.
into A.
Into A, that's it. Now, this is the easiest way, you see. Fetch C1 into A. Okay. Then
Sir,
Uh,
we'll print now.
we can use an exit sort of here. Exit when C1 percentage
Not found.
not found. This is our exit condition. And then we can obviously print. We can print here the values, whatever we want to print. So if you want to print emp number, ename and salary, I would write like this. This is how to use this a dot ename, a dot sal. That's it. And
Sir?
then, yeah.
Sir, if we want to print everything like
Then we need to write everything. A dot emp number, a dot ename, a dot sal. Yeah, we need to mention all the columns. That is the only way. There's no shortcut to this.
okay, sir.
Okay, and then we do something like a close C1 here, and then we end. Okay. If you wish, you can put some spaces here if you are interested in a good output, so you can just pipe them with some spaces. Okay, so let's see how it works. Let's get this code first, and let's run it. Say I give here as a salesman, right? Some problem here. What's the problem? Can somebody tell me? lower your hands and then raise your hands again. Why this problem is coming? You people are all related to programming. Okay, all hands down. Now raise your hands. Why this problem is? It says this line error at line 2. Remember your insert statements, your data types of Oracle, and then answer this question. Why this problem is coming? It says salesman is an invalid identifier. Would somebody like to try, or shall I tell you the answer? You see, when you have a normal variable, it should be written without quotes. When there is a date or a char variable, it should be written like this in single quotes. That is the problem. Let's hope we get rid of it now. Okay, so we have these 4 rows. You can see how this percentage row type has worked. Very interesting. A variable which, when you declare it as a percentage row type, like you have done it here, M percentage row type, that means A can access all the columns of the M table. That is the meaning. Okay, and the usual fetch and exit are there, and you're simply printing some of the values. You fetched all the columns into the variable A, and then you are printing certain columns from there. So if it is clear of this particular problem is clear of percentage row type, you can raise your hands. If it is clear and there are no problems, this is an important one. You can raise your hands if everything is fine. Okay. All right. So in salesman, there are 4 jobs are there. So 4 people are there. You can see their details. Okay. Then another one is, yeah, lower your hands, please. Thank you. But I'm expecting more answers from all of you. From boys, at least, people are not answering. Girls are only answering. Boys are not answering. So the next question would be for boys whenever it comes. Next, we have cursors with parameters. Okay, important one again. Just for the concept check. Otherwise, you can answer this. Cursors with parameters. That means we can have cursors with parameters. Obviously, that means after the cursor name, we would be passing some parameters. That is cursor with parameters. So for this, let's take an example. Please write to display employee details for a specific department. To display employee details for a specific department. So you can just use, yeah, let's use a new one, say add P5. Okay, and say declare, then begin, then end. So I'm suggesting this now, cursor C1. Then you can write some parameter here, D1, which is a department number. That means when you write the cursor, you will pass the department number as an argument to this cursor. So this is a parameterized cursor or cursor with parameter. Okay. Then you can write is select, again say star from M where department number equal to say D1. Okay, and D1 is the same that you have used there. Okay, when you write open C1, then you can write a declaration like this. Just see the connection, you know, you've already done this type of programming in C, C++. So when you open this cursor, you pass something from here, okay, some value from here, which goes to this D1 and which is further given to this where condition. Another way of using the cursors. Okay, and then you can use a loop, you can use a fetch, say C1 into say X, and X obviously you can declare here as M percentage row type, right? And fetch C1 into X, and you can use an exit when C1 percentage not found. Okay, and then obviously you can display certain things. You can use a display of say A dot, I'm just using one column, let's not waste time. Sorry, X1 dot sal. Okay, and then I can use an end loop here. So see, the key thing here is now we are using a cursor with a parameter. So when you take a parameter, you must specify its data type also here. Okay. And then the usual, you pass this, when you open the cursor, you pass the value to this parameter D1 and this query is completed. Okay. So it will display you the employee details for a specific department. Okay. Department number I'll be passing when I open the cursor. So let's see how it runs, whether it runs or if we have some problems. Okay. So department number 10. There's some problem. We are not writing that thing correctly. Yeah. Here is the problem. So 10, and you can see department number 10, I've displayed the salary from department number 10 using a parameterized cursor, right? And how it happens, when I run this, I pass the value 10 here. Okay. If I just show you the verify, it will tell you how it goes. Okay. So when I give 10 here, so it should have been on. See here, when I run this, okay, see the code here, this statement open C1 ampersand DNO, it becomes open C1 10, okay. Then 10 is passed to this cursor statement to D1, and the query becomes select star from emp where department number equal to D1, so where department number is equal to 10. So the salary of all the people of department number 10 is displayed here. This is using a cursor with a parameter. Okay. So short break, a 2 minutes, just a review sort of break. Next, we discuss something known as a cursor for loop. Very interesting thing. Cursor for loop. Okay. Now this cursor for loop is what you are doing is you are declaring a cursor, you're opening it, fetching it, closing it. So this cursor for loop can handle much of that complexity. Let me rewrite this program using a cursor for loop. Okay. Or rather, this I'll do later on. Let's rewrite this program using a cursor for loop. Okay. See, you've declared a cursor that needs to be done every time. Okay. Now, I just write here something like this: for I in C1. This is a cursor for loop. Okay. This is a cursor for loop. The usuals are there. See the ease of cursor for loop. Case is not, it's not case sensitive, so don't look too much into it. How it works, cursor for loop, let's write it here. For some variable, say I've taken I, okay, this is a row type variable automatically. No need to declare anything of this sort. No need to declare. Okay. And then you can use here I directly. See, you have not written open, fetch, close. No need to write. The cursor is closed as soon as you come out of this for loop. See, this is the cursor for loop now. Have a good look at it. So when you declare a cursor, fine, you've declared a cursor. This for takes care of all the three operations that you do separately: opening, fetching, closing. This does it automatically. So for I in C1 means I is an index variable which is connected to C1, and it is a row type variable. Whatever columns are here can be accessed by I. Okay, is it fine? And once you exit this for loop, the cursor is closed. How do we check whether the cursor is closed or not? So if C1 percentage is open, then you print something. So I'm printing here cursor is open. Okay. And I'll write an else here. And I'll just write here cursor is closed. So obviously you know what the answer should be here. Okay, I'll ask from you. See now once again what this cursor for loop has done. You simply declare the cursor here. This is the cursor declaration. Then this for loop takes care of all the three operations. That is opening the cursor, fetching the cursor. So जितनी बार ये for चलता है, it will fetch one row. So for I in C1, so I would be associated with the first row, with the second row, and it can be used like this. And I need not be declared. इसको declare करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay. And once you are out of this for loop, the cursor is closed automatically. So when I run this code, it will say cursor is closed. Okay, I'm going to run this code. Kindly have a look. So job I'll write here as salesman. Okay, some problem here. Line 4 may there is some problem. Yeah, I put a semicolon there, I suppose. That was a mistake. Yeah, this should not be there. For I in C1. Yeah. So you can see whatever I told you, that it will fetch all the rows one by one, display the rows. So the variable I is taking care of that row type thing that you declared. No need to declare that. That declaration is gone, open statement is gone, fetch is gone, exit statement is gone, close statement is gone. So very convenient to use a cursor for loop. Okay. If the working of the cursor for loop is clear, you can give me a raised hand, all of you. You need to relook it on my channel, that I can assure you. आपको इसको दोबारा एक बारी चैनल पे देखना पड़ेगा, पक्का हो जाएगा. फिर एग्जाम में भी आपको ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं पड़ेगा. You'll be able to write it properly. Fine. So this is regarding cursors. I think we have done a good detail. I think we could not do this in the class because an online medium is always better to learn, you know, the practical aspect of things. So let's now go with the implicit cursor. Okay, let's now go with the implicit cursor, which you say that it is created automatically. You've said whenever you use a DML statement. Okay, so let's write a new code here. Let me write some statement here. Simply begin, and what should I write here? Okay, let's write an update. Be very careful. This is easy, but just have a quick look at it. Tell me what this will do. Update emp set sal equal to sal plus sal star. Okay, let's do amper slash 100. Okay, where department number equal to ampersand DN. No, let's write a good query, right? I've written update emp set sal equal to sal plus sal star. So I'm giving a percentage increase to all the people's salary from a specific department, right? And what should I write here? Let me print here something for you. I want to see that this update statement affects whether this works or not. Okay, so dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I'll display something here. So if SQL percentage found, let me write it first, then I'll discuss. I've written here an update statement. I told you that an implicit cursor is created automatically whenever some DML statement is fired. So update is a DML statement. Okay, insert, delete, and update. These are the three DML statements. So when I use update, an implicit cursor is already automatically created. The name of the implicit cursor is taken as SQL automatically. Like the explicit cursor, you give it a name on your own, but the implicit cursor, the name is SQL always. Okay, it is not case sensitive, remember. Okay, SQL is the implicit cursor name. So I'm saying that if this cursor, if this update, updates some rows, this percentage found would be true. If it does not update any rows, it would be false. Okay, let's run it. So let's get P6, have a good look at it. I'm going to run it now. It will first prompt me with the percentage increase. So I'll do here a 10%. Then it will ask me the department number. I say department number 10. Okay, some problem here. Cell plus cell star 10, where's the problem? Line 7, error line 7. We missed some end statement, I suppose. I think we missed the end statement. Yeah. Okay, let's write the end here. Okay. And again, let's get it and let's run it. A 10% increase. So you see, it says update worked. Can you see the beauty of this? That if your update works, an implicit cursor attribute percentage found is automatically set to true. So if you use that, it can tell you that it has worked. It will also tell you how many rows. Can somebody tell me how to check how many rows were updated? You see, I cannot check here. It simply says update worked. Okay. So how many rows were updated? Can I check that? Yeah, please raise your hands to answer this question. How many rows were updated? See, I'm going very slow on this so that this practical part is very clear to you. Okay, Sejal wants to answer. Great. Still waiting for some boys to answer. Sejal, go ahead.
Sir, can we do this by using percentage row count?
Yes, of course. We need to do it by using percentage row count. Where should I write it? Here.
Sir,
Update worked, right?
yes,
Pipe
sir.
it. Then write this attribute will fetch how many rows, how many rows were processed. So SQL percentage row count. And again pipe it. Use some message. Were processed or were updated, you can write. Okay, you can write here were processed. That's it. Let's check it. Yeah, 3 rows were processed. If we run it again and give it a 10% increase for department 20, so it will say 5 rows were processed. 5 people in department 20. Run it again for 30, it will say 6. Okay, so this is how you work with it. Let's have a look at our table now. So उल्टा उल्टा हो गया होगा है ना, इतनी सैलरी इंक्रीज कर दी हमने. देखो सबकी सैलरी चेंज हो गई है. 880, 1760, 32, 72.5. Sejal, can you suggest me how to? I want my original table back. Or do you suggest that the changes have been made permanently to this?
No, sir, you haven't commit or exit, so the changes
Very
are
good.
temporary.
Very good. So we have not committed or exited. So what we can do here is, if I just want to revert all the work in the current session, I'll simply write roll back. Have a good look at on the screen now, all of you. See the contents of the M table. I'm saying roll back. Again, I'm displaying, see the contents now. These are the original values. Can you see? So rollback is a very good thing. Commit only when you are 100% sure. Okay, rollback will, roll back your work, will undo the changes that you've done. But it can be used only before commit. Agar commit kar diya fir, then there is no use of rollback. So this was regarding the implicit cursor. I can write another example if you wish. I'll just write it here itself. I can use a delete statement here. Similarly, a delete statement, delete emp, and then you can use a where statement, where ename like S%. So I am deleting all the people whose name starts with the letter S. And obviously, if SQL percentage found, then we'll say delete worked. And we can have some space here also. And then I can write delete did not work. Let's see. Okay, look, have a good look at it. Delete did not work. Okay. See, I've written a delete query, delete all the names starting with S. So let's first list how many names are there. Smith and Scott. Only 2 are there. So 14 rows are there. I'll be using this code P6. Okay. And then 2 rows were processed, right? Delete work. Now, if you again do this, you see 12 rows are there. Those 2 have been deleted. If I again run this, what would be the output now? Who's going to answer this? Yes, Simran?
Sir, actually, I raised hand for some for asking some doubt, not
Okay, go ahead.
to
Ask
answer.
your
Sorry,
doubt.
sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, can we roll back up to some extent only? Like if we want to.
Yeah. That we'll discuss when we are discussing some specific topics that will come later. That is, we can roll back to some save point. Okay, I'll show it to you here. First, let's finish this topic and then I'll show it to you today itself, right? I'll come back to your query, Simran, right? If I run this now, the 2 rows with the names S have been deleted. If I again run this code, what would be the output? Delete did not work because now there is no name starting with S in my table. Okay, delete did not work. Okay, let me first roll back. Okay, Simran, this is for your query now. All of you can look into it. A good question. This is my M table. The salary for Smith is 800. Can all of you see? Okay. I will make it, I'll update it. Update M set sal equal to 1200, where M number is equal to 7369. Look very carefully. Okay. I'm updating. Okay. This has been updated. Okay. This row has been updated. I'll mark this point as with the save point command as save point S1. Have a good look. So at save point S1, I have made one change. I've updated the salary of Smith to 1200. Okay, instead of 800. You can see it also. It's 1200. Okay. Then again, I do some changes. Delete from M. Okay, where job equal to say manager. So 3 rows are deleted. You can see now instead of 14, 11 rows are there. Okay. Then I can do another thing. I can again say delete from M, where say ename equal to say Smith. So another row is deleted. So if I just select here, now you see I have done 2 deletes and 1 update. The update which I did, after that I marked the point, save point S1. So if I do something like this now, I've written rollback to save point S1. So Simran, can you please raise your hand again so that I can unmute you? Yeah, Simran, what do you think? What would be the contents now? What has been rolled back? Yes, Simran.
Sir, the first statement where we have updated the salary of Smith.
That would stay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it has rolled back this delete. Okay. It has rolled back this delete. It has rolled back everything till this point. It will not go beyond this point. So this salary would stay as 1200.
Sir,
Is
then
that clear?
can we say that save point is equivalent to commit?
No, save point is simply you are saving the status of your work at some instance in time.
So
You
can
did
we
some.
delete save point as well?
या उसके पीछे भी आप roll back सीधा कर सकते हो. If you just write roll back, everything is rolled back. If you write roll back to save point S1, that means whatever is there from current till you wrote save point S1 is rolled back. Okay, so if you see here, you see you deleted last select told you there are 10 rows, but then this delete and this delete have been rolled back. So again, you'll have 14 rows, but this the salary of 7369 would stay as 1200 because this is beyond this save point. It cannot be rolled back as per this statement. So if you use select, it will show you everything, but the salary would be 1200. You see all the 14 rows rolled back, but the salary is 1200. And if you write rollback now here simply, then obviously you understand that everything is rolled back and you get the original values back. I
Yes,
hope
sir.
I've answered your question, Simran.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Understood.
Okay. Then I think we have discussed this implicit cursor attributes also. Let's now do a quick this thing with the exception handling. Okay. Okay. So let's go back to our, I think 8P2 would do. Yeah. We already started working here with our exceptions. Okay. And if there is some error which we are not aware of, like here we were aware of the error, select chal into X. So we know that if 0 or multiple rows are returned, we can use the exception handlers. Let's say that we are not aware. So I can write here when others. Okay. I can write when others, and I can write some error. Look carefully now. Okay. Some error occurred. I can use this with when others, because usually when others is we don't know what error has occurred. Okay. So let's run this code now. Kindly see if there is some error. So department number 10. So it says some error occurred because we are using a select chal into. So when I write department number is equal to 10, there are multiple rows, so it will give you a error. But I don't know what error is there. So user is not aware now what error is there. It simply says some error occurred. So to write about that error, two functions are available, I told you. So you can write here or simply you can write error is, okay, and then you can use those you can use this function sqlrm. So this sqlrm is a combination of your error number as well as the error message. Okay, and another one is sql code. You can also pipe that. I'll use both the function in one code itself, sql code. Okay, see the difference now. So if I write here 10, you can see error is. So this first is the error number. So your sqlrm, look carefully. This is the output of your sqlrm. Can you see? This is the output of this sqlrm. The error number, that is ORA-01422. The error message. Okay. And then the SQL code simply tells you the error number. That's it, -1422. Remember this. So SQLrm gives you the complete error number as well as the error message, whereas SQL code gives you only the error number without this ORA, which stands for Oracle. If it is clear, you can raise your hands, all of you, so that I can move further ahead. Okay, only one person, Jaspreet Singh. Okay, Sakshi, Gursimran, all have understood. That's good. That's good. Okay, let's go again to our code. You see, once we have written a code, it can tell us so many things. So use these functions SQLrm and SQL code when you're using when others. And obviously when others should be the last exception handler in your exception block. Okay. If you are writing your own, predefined exceptions, also you are checking like this, when no underscore data underscore found, something like this. Okay. You're using this. So this when others should be the last exception handler. That is what I'm suggesting. Now there could be, problems in your this select chal into X or from env also, where a salary could be null also. You could be having a null salary also. So there you can write your own exceptions also. Okay, we'll be writing our own exceptions. So let's write a code to write our own user defined exceptions. These when others, when no data found, when cursor is invalid, so many predefined exceptions are there. But if you need to create your own exception, then you need to first declare it. I'm going to declare it here. Say, I'll use this exception salary missing, and I'll declare that this is an exception. See, the first step in writing your own user defined exceptions is that you must declare the exception. So this is the declaration part. The name of the exception that you'll use and its type as exception. And then you need to raise it. Okay, have a good look at it. So select sal into X row emp, where we'll write simple, which works now, where emp number is equal to en, emp number, right? And salary is this. So here, if a person is having a null salary, so if X is null, look this thing very carefully, then you use a raise. See, predefined exceptions, they are raised automatically when some error occurs. But since this sal underscore missing is your own exception, so you must know when to raise it. So you raise it when an employee is found but is having salary as null. So if X is null, then raise this. Okay, that's it. End if. Otherwise, if X is okay, then it will print the salary. And in this, you write here when sal missing, then obviously you can give a message here. You can write here salary is null. See the sequence now. I'll just number all the things for you. I'll just maximize the screen so that you can understand clearly. So this is declaring an exception, the first one, then raising the exception, okay, and then obviously number 3, handling the exception. The 1 and 2, the 1 and 2 are missing in case of predefined exceptions because they are raised automatically when some error occurs. But in case of user defined exceptions, you need to first declare it like this, then you must raise it, okay, like this, and then you must handle it like the usual when then sort of thing. Okay, and let's see if everything is good with this. Before that, let's insert one employee with a null salary. So insert into emp number comma ename, values say 223 comma. Okay, yeah, some problem. Ajay. Okay, if you see the table now, you'll see that the employee 223 Ajay is not yet assigned a salary. So salary is null. So if we look at our program here, we want to print the salary of a specific employee. So if when I run this code and I provide the employee number as 223, what would be there in X? What would be fetched into X? Select sal into X, a null value. So it will say if X is null, then it will raise salary missing, and it will jump here and will print salary is null. Have a good look at it, all these 3 things. So I'll first do the usual way, say Ford 7902. Let's see if it works. Yeah, salary is 3000. You can see. Let's put this vary as off. Okay. Let's get the code again. Okay. And let's run it for 223. That is Ajay who's having a null salary. So you can see that exception is raised when you give 223 here. Okay, here 223. Then it X has a null value, nothing is fetched into it. So if X is null, it will raise sal missing, it will jump to this exception section, sorry, and then it will match with this sal underscore missing and display the message sal is null. So this is how you can work with your own exceptions. Okay. So let's have a few questions from you now. Yeah, you see, so far we have written so much code, but it all stays in our local system. Okay, with the file names as P1, P2, P3. The named blocks, that is your subprograms in PLSQL. There are 2 types, procedures and functions. Okay, and they stay in your account. They don't stay on the local machine. They stay as a part of your account, like your tables, like your views. Okay, so they are with you all the time. So you can use them whenever you wish. Okay, and a procedure, you can just listen to this definition for a procedure. A procedure is a sub-program that performs a specific action. Okay, so a procedure is something which does some specific action, and it can be called either from your PLSQL block. Prince, you have raised your hand.
Yes, sir. I have to ask one thing, sir. From cursor for loop, sir.
Okay.
Sir, the cursor C1 is like a cursor or a pointer, we can say, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, what should we say about the I we used for I? Yes, the for I in C1.
You can see on
So
screen. Yeah. For this is a cursor for loop. You have a usual for loop. Huh? Do you remember a
ye-
usual for loop? How do we write it in
ye-
PLSQL? We write it
yes,
like this: for I in 1.5, something like this. है ना?
yes,
So
yes, sir.
I varies from 1 to 5. So when you need to write a cursor for loop, you just write for some variable in cursor. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And this I is the variable which gets associated with the cursor. It is
Okay.
of type percentage row type. It need not be declared. Okay, it is automatically a percentage row type. That means whatever columns are there associated with the select statement, that can be picked up by I. Okay, and I is active within this loop only. The moment you go out of this loop, I is dead. Anything else, Prince? Prince, anything else you want to ask?
No, sir, it's okay. I got it.
Understood? All right, fine. Okay, so we were discussing procedures. I was telling you that procedure is a sub program which performs a specific action, and it can be called from any PLSQL program. It can be called from any of your PLSQL programs, or it can also be invoked or can be called at the SQL command line also. Two ways of invoking. Okay, and then I'll write the syntax now. That is the important thing here. I'll write it in a blank file so that you can understand. Can you note the syntax very carefully? I'm writing the syntax, kindly note. Now, once you start writing procedures, it would be, understood automatically. First you write, then we'll discuss. Local declarations. Executable statements. I'll explain it to you also, no worries. Keep on writing like I am doing, okay? So that you can understand it later on. This is a syntax. We won't be able to finish it today. So whatever we can discuss, I'll write. Okay. You can take a screenshot of the screen if you wish. So here you see whatever is written in square brackets is optional. You may write, you may not write it. That means if you have created a procedure with a given name, and if you want to, again, Prince, you have raised your hand. Another problem? Prince?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, just lower your hand, please. Yeah. So this create or replace option is that if you have created a procedure and you want to overwrite it, you can use this create or replace procedure. So if a procedure with that name exists, it would be overwritten. Okay. And the arguments, a procedure can have arguments. You must give the data type of the arguments, and you can also specify something known as a mode of the argument, which I'll discuss in my next class. Okay, not today. And you can have as many arguments as you wish in a procedure, or a procedure may not have an argument also. If there is no argument in the procedure, then no need to write the parentheses also. Okay, keep on listening, please. And the data type should be unconstrained. That means you should not be giving any size for the data type. Okay, you can simply write number. I'm writing an example here. Kindly see number. Okay, say if I write here a number in the declaration, like argument name as a and data type as number, this is all right. I should not be writing it as a number 6. Okay, is that all right? This is the meaning of unconstrained. So this is incorrect. इसको use नहीं करना, right? This is the correct declaration. This is the unconstrained declaration. Constraint means कि आप उसका size mention कर रहे हो. Same would be in a varchar sort of thing. So varchar 2, that's it. So if you're using an argument, say b, like this, you need to declare it like this. No need to give the size. If you give the size, that is incorrect again. Okay. And the modes which you can use are, 3 modes are there. In mode is there, out mode is there, and in out mode is there. Discussion in the next class. Then see the difference here. Create or replace procedure. Uske baad, the same PLSQL block is there, but the declarations, if there are any declarations, again this is in square brackets. So if there are declarations, you can write. Otherwise, it's not mandatory. But there is no declare keyword here. Remember this. Note this thing very carefully. There is no declare keyword here. Okay. Begin, exception, and everything is there, but no declare keyword is there. But between is and begin, you can do all the local declarations, whichever you require for your procedure. Okay, fine. So then at the end, you can follow end with the procedure name also. Again, this is optional. Okay, I'll show all these things to you with the help of a few examples now. Okay, take a screenshot of this page, right? Okay, so मैं इसको save भी कर देता हूँ. So okay. Now let's create a procedure, a simple one first. Okay, and you match it with your syntax. Okay, I'm going to create a procedure which simply displays welcome. Okay, so this will make many things clear. Procedure which displays a welcome message, right? So how to write it? Kindly check with me now. Again, all these things are not case sensitive. आपको पता ही है. Write it in any case you wish. Create or replace procedure. Okay, say disp is, and then simply begin, end, and within that you can write dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. I'm taking a simple example. Okay, Okay, welcome to PLSQL. And this end, you can follow it like this. This was the meaning of that syntax. Okay, this comes like this. And this procedure is not having any arguments. You can simply write this like this. Okay, see this definition now, all of you. I've created a procedure. Okay, I've used a create or replace option. Okay, so if a procedure with the name of disp exists, it would be overwritten by this declaration. Okay, so create or replace procedure, the name of the procedure is disp. There are no arguments in this procedure. Then is word is there. Then there are no declarations, and there is no declare keyword in this procedure when you write, but declarations can be there. I'll show it to you in the next example. And then in begin and end, I'm simply writing print this message, welcome to PLSQL. And the end can be followed optionally by the name of the procedure like I've done here. Okay, let's save this. The file is P8. See, when I compile it now, be very careful. It should display a message procedure created. Okay, it may also give messages procedure created with errors. Usually when you try making procedures for the first time, procedures or functions, it will give you like this only, procedure created with errors. Okay, so let's see whether we get some error or not. So we get procedure created. So this procedure has been created. You see, procedure is similar in 99% similar to your function. Okay, only thing that function usually calculates something and returns something, whereas procedure does some predefined task. Okay, it is not returning anything, but it can return values. Both the procedure and function can return values, but procedure usually does not return values. It does some predefined task, whereas function usually returns values. How to return the values from our procedures also we'll learn in our next class. So the procedure has been created. Okay, at this point, if there is any problem, you can raise your hands. I'm waiting. I'll list both the things for you so that you can correlate. Yeah, I think both the screens are visible. Okay, the P7 is your syntax and the screen on top is your example, right? Yeah, kindly correlate. Okay, so the next thing is how to execute this. So to execute this, you can simply write execute and then the procedure name. Okay, see, I've executed a procedure disp. Okay, so it will simply display the message. It will be executed and display whatever task it has been assigned. It will do that task. Okay, let's write another procedure. Now I'll use this one only because we have less time on our hands. Create or replace procedure, say add. Okay, one more thing, when I don't give any mode of the argument, you see, usually I could have written like this. Okay, or I could have written like this. This we'll discuss in our next class. But if I don't write anything, by default the mode is in. Remember, by default the mode is in. And I can simply write here sum is okay. So now I'm creating a procedure add with two arguments a and b. So whatever arguments are passed to it, it will display the sum of those arguments. Okay, right? So let's run this P8 again. Let's get it. Okay, add is a keyword, I suppose. Okay, add is some keyword, I think. So let's say use this if the problem is solved. You see, now this has come. Okay, procedure created with compilation error. So I told you this comes, even I'm doing or you doing something that we have not done very carefully, it can give us some errors. Okay, so let's see what the error is by using this show errors. Okay, so some problem. which we are not able to track. Okay, you should help me to find an error here. Let's use some variable here. Let's see if there is some problem here. And obviously we need to declare that variable. Remember, we don't need to write declare. We don't write declare here. So S number S is this, and we say sum is this. Let's use this name. Let's see if there is some error is still there. Yeah, still errors are there. Can somebody tell me what is the error? Yeah, waiting for your answers. There's some error. Help me to find it out. You have just started learning procedures. Oh, Sejal wants to answer. Good, Sejal, go ahead.
Sir, we have written end disk.
Very good, Sejal. Perfect answer. So, if you are following end with the procedure name, it should be the correct one. Here it is asum or add at it was. So here it is this. So I should write here asum. That should solve the problem, I think. Let's hope that it solves the problem. So procedure created. Very good, Sejal. Perfect answer. So again, just execute this asum and pass two values and you get the answer. Something similar to your functions, but then the functionality will improve once you actually see how to make good procedures. Okay, so I think this is clear till this point. Let's now create a procedure. Please write, all of you. I'm also writing for you. Create a procedure to increase the salary of a specific employee by a specific amount. Kindly note it. Create a procedure to increase the salary of a specific employee by a specific amount. Okay, so I am looking for a procedure, say INCR, where I give the employee number and I give the amount. Look carefully what I'm trying to do. I want to create a procedure with two arguments, ENO and amount, where ENO is the employee number and amount is the salary. So if the employee is found, his salary should be incremented the amount by which is mentioned here. Okay, so let's start it. Let's see whether we can finish it here or not. Let's pick up some already existing code. P4 should be good. No. P3 maybe. Or a P6 sort of. No. P5 would be good. Okay, let's use this. So we need to write create or replace procedure INCR, say ENO. You can write, you see now again, I can write varchar2 here. I'll come back to it. I can write amount number, okay, is, then some declaration I'll see. And then begin, I can write select sal into say X from M, where emp number equal to ENO. ENO is the argument there, right? And I can declare a variable X here. X is emp dot sal percentage type. What I'm trying to suggest is that you can write a percentage type declaration here also, because ENO refers to employee number, amount refers to, maybe number or salary. So I can at least do this here, that I can write here emp number. This can be written here also. That's what I'm suggesting. Okay. The data type can be mentioned like this also. Okay. And this already we have done today. Now we just need to create it into a procedure. Okay. Select sal into x from emp, where emp number is equal to ENO, and then update emp. Okay. Set sal equal to sal plus amount, where emp number is equal to ENO. That is the only thing that we need to do. And then you can follow it with your usual exception handlers. Okay. You know which exception handlers you should write. Can somebody tell me which exception handlers we should write here for this problem? We can use our own also, that if x is null, let's write it full. If x is null, then raise, we'll make this, we'll write this as complete procedure. Okay. Raise sal missing, and if, okay. Otherwise, update this. Okay. And then an exception, we can write sal underscore missing. Then you can print dbms underscore output dot put. This would be very interesting once it runs. Okay. All of you would like it very much. But this employee number ENO has a null salary. Okay. I'll take some time to run it to the full, so that it is clear to all of you. Has a null salary. I think that's fine. Let's now just copy paste 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we can write here, when, if your select statement returns 0 rows, when no data found. Okay. Employee number not found. I don't think we'll have a multiple sort of error here, so no need to write that. And then we can write here when others. Okay. We should make our program foolproof. When others, then we should write simply error is, and then you know what to write here. You should write here SQL RM, right? SQL RM. See, we have taken all the exceptional handlers in our procedure. When no data found, that is when the employee number is not there. When employee number is there, but no salary is there. Okay. And when some other error occurs, we have handled that also. Okay. So this is, let's write it here. You can write without this also, but it's better to write this when INCR, right? And we need to declare the exception also. See, in a procedure or function, the declare keyword is not used. Okay. Then the name of our exception. The same 3 things: declaring, raising, and then handling. Okay. So see, now let's see what happens. We select the salary of the given employee with the given employee number into the variable X. If it is null, we raise the salary missing exception, and it prints a message: employee number has a null salary. If salary is found, then we update the salary, update M, set sal is equal to sal plus amount. Okay. Set sal is equal to X plus amount should be a better option, I think. Yeah. Where emp number is equal. Yeah, this will also work. Yeah, sal plus amount, where emp number is equal to ENO. Okay. And I think it should work. Let's hope we get a procedure created message. This was what, P5? Yeah. So that's great work. So no errors, that means procedure is okay now. Now the fun part, okay? Say select star from M. I need some of you to raise your hands, please. Who want to participate in checking the procedure, please? Raise your hands. Some new students maybe? Raise your hands, please. I hope you are with me in the class. चले तो नहीं क्या छोड़ गए class को? Yeah, raise your hands, please, to participate with an interaction with me. What's the problem? Come on. Yeah, raise your hands, please. Yeah, good. Simran is there. Good, Simran. Very good. I need one or two more students, maybe. Okay, Simran, let's have a discussion. Simran, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Simran, our procedure is INCR. Okay, let's use it to change the salary of Smith. उसकी सैलरी कितनी है सिमरन? स्मिथ की सैलरी देखो स्क्रीन पे.
Sir, 800.
उसकी 1200 करनी है. ठीक है, 800 है ना, 1200 करनी है. बताइए क्या करूं? Help me. This is the procedure that we made INCR. है ना? I'm going to call it with the EXEC command. What should I pass? The two arguments. First is the employee
Sir,
number.
the employee number and sal.
Okay. Salary amount. कितना अमाउंट पास करूं कि इसकी सैलरी मतलब 400 रुपए बढ़ा दूं?
Yes, sir.
Will this do? What I'm saying is this
Increment
procedure
the
when I
salary.
pass, yeah, increment the salary of employee 7369 by 400.
400.
Okay. It says done. It says PL SQL procedure successfully completed. Check कीजिए हो गया कि नहीं? Done?
Yes, sir.
Good. Right? Okay. Now let's see the other part. 223 Ajay, right? इसकी सैलरी 1000 बढ़ जाएगी, yes or no? ये बताइए. Simran has gone. Let's ask Bharat.
Yes, sir.
Bharat, बताइए, will this work as per our procedure? I'm trying to increment the salary of 223 employee number.
सर उसकी सैलरी नल है तो नहीं बढ़ेगी.
नहीं बढ़ेगी ना, exception raise हो जाएगी जो हमने खुद बनाई. See?
Yes.
Employee number 223 has a null salary. Okay, let's go with the zero row also now. Let's use a employee which is not there, say 789. Okay, so it will say employee number 789 not found. So you see that this one good procedure that we have made, what was P4? No. P5. Yeah. See this good one procedure we have made. See how many things we have used in it. We have used a percentage type declaration. We have declared an exception. We have handled or raised an exception. Then we have managed all the exceptions. Okay, we have used the update statement also. Okay, fine. So I think we have got a very good session today. We have started procedures. We'll finish procedures, functions and triggers and packages in our next class. And we'll start with the topic of normalization also next week. Okay. So till that time, all the best for your sessionals. Remember in your sessionals, write on your own. That would be the best for all of you. Okay. All right. Thank you.